I just found out why my boyfriend never holds my toddler niece. Trigger warnings: death of a child, miscarriage, trauma, self-harm, accusations of abuse. I, 27F, have been with my boyfriend, 28M, J, for 5 years. We've both been very close with each other's families, and we've even talked about marriage. However, one touchy subject is children. Whenever we discuss it, he gets kinda standoffish. He doesn't really dismiss the idea though, it's just that he doesn't seem invested. I've always wanted kids, and he just always says he's fine with whatever makes me happy. Ever since, I've been content with this situation. However, things escalated during this holiday season. Our setup has always been that Jay spends Christmas Eve and dinner with my family, then I spend Christmas Day with his family. This was the first Christmas I'll spend with my first and only niece, 2F, Anna. She spent her first Christmas in the hospital due to her health condition, but she's okay now, so I made sure to spend a lot of time with her. We played a lot, we opened gifts together, and I even reenacted Anna's favorite storybook using her favorite doll. We even had matching outfits. My sister, 30F, Amy, thanked me for giving her and her husband some relief from childcare the entire day. However, Amy also said she noticed that Jay, who was just either sitting on the couch watching me or helping my mom with the dishes, was kinda distant with Anna. I told her I've also noticed that before, and I just chalked it up to maybe Jay was hesitant and awkward to play with Anna because he feels he's just my boyfriend. Then Amy said she won't mind, since she and her husband already treat Jay as part of our family. I then went back to Jay and encouraged him to play with Anna and help us set up her new dollhouse, but he said he's not feeling too well. He ended up drinking a few more beers and stayed on the porch by himself, scrolling on his phone. I didn't press harder and thought he might really just be feeling under the weather. I just want to add for context that Jay isn't an alcoholic. He's a sweet, wonderful, funny man who's sometimes broody and deep in thought, but he's never abusive, manipulative, or moody, and he only drinks on special occasions. The next day, on Christmas Day, we had lunch with Jay's family. Afterward, I volunteered for cleanup to help Jay's mom, 62F, Mary, and brother, 31M, John. Jay's family was the best any significant other could ever ask for. They're very sweet and supportive of us, but they're never prying. They always check up on us, but they never overstep. So, as we were cleaning up, Mary asked me how my sister's baby was. They helped with the bills when Anna was hospitalized last year. I told them that Anna's in great condition now, and that she already spent Christmas at home. They were very delighted upon hearing this. Then, I shared with them the thing I noticed about Jay. Initially, I thought maybe Mary could just give me advice on how to approach the issue with Jay since he's clearly not the playing with kids kind of guy, but then John casually said something like, "Oh, because of Rosie," then Mary quickly shushed him. Rosie was the daughter of Jay and John's eldest sister, Beth, 35F. I never knew the actual details because everyone was very secretive about it, but all I knew was that Rosie passed away when she was just 3 years old and Beth and her husband moved away afterward. I never met them in person. So, later that night, when Mary, John, and the other family members got a bit more drunk and Jay was already sleeping in the bedroom, they told me the story. I didn't force them or anything. Apparently, Jay, being the youngest of the siblings, was really close with Rosie back then. Jay was just around 14 years old when Rosie was born, so he became the super fun uncle, like I am now with Anna. He was actually Rosie's best friend. Then, in the summer of 2012, Jay was playing with Rosie outside. He was blowing bubbles and she was chasing and popping them, when a speeding car, driven by a woman who was distracted on her phone, skidded into the yard toward Rosie's direction. Jay reacted quickly and was able to reach and grab Rosie so the car actually hit him, but the impact of the crash caused Rosie's head to whiplash as Jay hugged her. Jay was in a coma for 3 days and had multiple severe injuries and internal bleeding, but Rosie didn't make it. Everything was caught by the neighbor's CCTV, so everyone knew that Jay was a hero for trying to protect Rosie. It was even covered by the local news, but Beth, who was understandably in grief, resented Jay for not being able to save her daughter. Beth and her husband then decided to move to another country to cope with their grief and start a new life, and they've had minimal contact with the family ever since. Jay, meanwhile, took the loss really hard. He blamed himself for not being able to save Rosie and not being able to attend her funeral since he was still at the hospital at that time. Mary said that Jay was never the same after that. He never went near kids, and he became a lot colder, quieter, more reserved, and antisocial. He also had anger issues, but it thankfully went away. I haven't had any issues with this. We also live in an area where people don't believe in therapy, so Jay never received professional help. After learning all of this, I bawled my eyes out because I never knew Jay was carrying such a heavy burden. The whole incident became a taboo family secret that no one mentions in fear of Jay breaking down or doing something he might regret, although to be fair, he's never had violent or self-harm tendencies ever since, so this was just a precaution. They also never told me before because they assumed Jay would be the one to tell me, but I told them that he never did, and that I never really asked him. I then thanked everyone for letting me in on this, and I told them that I'd talk to Jay about it when the time is right. They understood, and they said I could just ring them up if I need help or support in any way. For now, I just want Jay to enjoy the holidays and his remaining vacation days from work. Now, I don't really know how to start with him. I know seeking professional help to process all the trauma and grief, even if it's been over a decade ago, would be the top priority, but I don't know how to bring it up to him. I don't even know when is the right time to bring it up. I just want him to know that I love him no matter what, and that I'll support him in every step toward his healing, especially if we're to form a family of our own. Relevant comments. Jay is amazing, what a shame his sister blamed him, but I guess that's what grief does to you. I hope he gets the therapy he needs. O.P. From what I gathered from Jay's family, Beth never really voiced out that she blamed Jay for Rosie's passing. However, she became cold toward him to the point of almost ignoring him during family gatherings before they moved. Of course, everyone knew what it was all about. Comment. Maybe you guys can start couples counseling? O.P. Jay has been living with his guilt, sadness, and anger for so long. He might not be receptive to individual therapy. But maybe if you go together, it can open the door to healing and communication. Maybe with your love and support in couples consulting it will propel him further. Comment. But the last part of your post is all you can do. O.P. Show Jay how much you love him and how much you crave to listen to all that he has to share. Be his safe space, his partner. Comment. I will join this opinion with huge approval. Even though you really love Jay, it's most likely he will have a hard time opening up about it, and even if he says he's okay, do you know if he ever saw any therapist? This is the kind of thing that I feel would give PTSD to anyone. Also, remember that he does not know that you know and might take badly the fact that the family revealed it to you, so make sure to remind him not to get mad at them, that it was a slip of the tongue and they had to explain. He seems like a wonderful person, but as you said yourself, grief can make you irrational sometimes, and it definitely doesn't look like he processed it all. In any case, he is a wonderful man, and I'm glad he found a partner that is attentive and empathetic. You two take good care of each other, have a wonderful new year and lots of love. You deserve it. O.P. I'm currently leaning toward waiting for him to bring it up himself, but of course I hope that it happens kinda soon so the grief and trauma don't consume him more than they already have. Thank you for your kind words. Comment. Holy crap, I think we were all thinking that he had the worst intentions in the beginning. But that couldn't be more wrong. This man was a hero and unfortunately his family has turned it into a dirty secret. I feel for you both so much. I don't really have any advice. I just want you to know that you are both incredible people and I hope your love finds a way and you're able to raise a beautiful family together, if you choose. Comment. It's really sad how the family handled it, but I can't really blame them because I grew up in the same area. We live in a provincial, non-progressive city, and their family even lives in a more rural community where everyone knows everyone. If there's any scandal that potentially tarnishes the family name, it's swept under the rug. I guess the heroic part of the story is something the family could have been proud of, but the trauma, anger issues, lashing out, and antisocial behavior that Jay developed, as well as how Beth left the community afterward outweighed everything, so the entire thing just became the family's dirty secret. Sadly, that anger never went away, it's sadness now. Be understanding, and make sure your family understands as well. O.P. Yeah, I'm trying to figure out a way to tell my family to be more sensitive about the subject around Jay without outright telling them the story because it's not mine to tell. Comment. Is it just me or do I feel like Beth is a total piece of shit for how she treated Jay? It's easy to say that as an outsider. Grief really messes with someone's thought process. I don't blame anyone in this situation. Beth probably was looking for someone else to blame for her daughter's death. Yeah, the only person I blame is the distracted driver. I don't normally curse, but F her. She didn't just kill a baby, she destroyed a loving family. From all his family's stories, Jay seemed to be a very upbeat, warm, and sociable guy before the incident. O.P. I don't really blame Beth for how she reacted and processed her grief. As I mentioned in another comment, she never outright blamed Jay, but the family assumed she did for how she treated him afterward. Again, we don't live in a very progressive area. She lost her daughter, and she was also young back then. She was just around 24, when it happened. Even if I never knew her, I wish Beth nothing but peace and healing throughout all this. Comment. She died as he was hugging her. I can't imagine the grief he went through. O.P. That's also something bothering me a lot. Of course, I'm just assuming here, but knowing how much of an overthinker Jay is who hyper-fixated on what-ifs, I know he has replayed that moment in his head a million times, overanalyzing every little detail. Comment. One of the worst things he could possibly be thinking is that maybe he was the one who killed Rosie, because it was the whiplash and not the actual crash that impacted her the most. It's bad enough that he lost his niece and best friend, but for her to die in his arms and thinking that it was him who might have accidentally killed her instead of saving her is absolutely horrible. OP. That's the what if I fear he's thinking the most. And just to be clear, no one actually blames him. Comment. Why are they so hard-pressed on forcing him to interact with a child more than he wants to? Instead of letting him get comfortable in his own time, you're all forcing him to do it right now. I'm very uncomfortable with children, but given time I'll come around. I just need to get over the anxiety and panic about hurting them by accident. If somebody and their family were this insistent, I'd just be more uncomfortable. OP. I don't think anyone is really forcing him though. In the 2 years we've welcomed Anna into this world, no one has forced Jay to interact with her just for the sake of it. I've been interacting with Anna every time our family gets together, and Jay has been distant but fine overall, and we just let him be because it was never an issue. We all just accepted that he wasn't comfortable around kids. Also, when I was encouraging him to interact more during Christmas Eve, it was more along the lines of, hey, you're welcome to help us with this dollhouse, I know you're judging my lack of craftsmanship here, lol. Amy's intention of bringing this to my attention is just to make Jay feel more welcome in our family. Again, it was me who assumed that maybe Jay was just awkward with Anna because he might have felt like an outsider and he didn't want to overstep. My entire conversation with Amy was rooted more in including Jay in our family and making him feel comfortable enough. However, given everything I've learned, I'll make sure that everyone is more sensitive with this subject around him. Update. Since learning about Rosie and posting here on Reddit, I've been so conflicted about what to do. A lot of you had opposing opinions, and all of them had merit, but knowing Jay and how he'd most likely react, I chose to keep it a secret until I found the perfect time. What I didn't anticipate was that the perfect time would come in the form of a pregnancy scare. Back in January, I had a false positive. Everything happened so quickly within a day. I had a roller coaster of emotions, but the bottom line was that I'm not pregnant after all. When Jay got back home that night, I knew I had to tell him everything. I told him I had a pregnancy scare, but he has nothing to worry about since it ended up being negative. At that moment, I saw all the blood drain from his face, and he became so pale that I was worried he was going to faint. I was holding his hand, and he became so sweaty and cold and shaky. He rushed to our refrigerator to get some water, and it was obvious he was spiraling really hard. That was when I told him I knew about Rosie. I came clean because I knew that was what he was panicking about. I assured him that I'm by his side, and he could react however he wanted to. I repeatedly apologized for disrespecting his trust and lying to him for weeks. I also asked him to please not be mad at his family because they meant well when they told me. Throughout all of it, I couldn't really read Jay's expressions. I wasn't sure if he was about to scream out of anger or burst into tears. I told him that we don't have to talk about it any further if he doesn't want to, but I'd be willing to listen and support him whenever he's ready. His only response that time was him asking me if I wanted to break up with him, which confused me. I told him of course not, then we hugged, then he said he needs some time to process everything before we discuss it, which I respected. For the rest of the week, we tried to interact like nothing happened, but everything was awkward since there's this huge thing hanging between us. The following weekend, which was 8 days after, we finally sat down and talked about everything. He started by apologizing for not telling me sooner, but he revealed that his last girlfriend dumped him after he told her about Rosie. He said he was so relieved after I reassured him that I wouldn't do that. He then told me that it was something that's been weighing him ever since, and he's confirmed that he never sought or received professional help. However, he said he's very much open to doing that, but he didn't think he's ready yet. He also said he's afraid to go down that path because it might release some inner demons and drag me down with him. Another thing Jay told me was that ever since Rosie was born, he felt an instant and deep connection and a sense of responsibility for her, even when he was just a teenager that time. He said that having Rosie in his life made him realize how much he wanted to be a father when he's older. However, since the incident, he's afraid of messing things up again, so he never really considered having kids from then on despite really wanting to do so. I then reassured him that we're on the same page on this. Although I also want to have kids with him in the future, I don't want to force it on him when he's not yet ready. He also said that whenever he sees me with Anna, my niece, he gets kinda jealous because he wants to join us every time. However, he constantly reminds himself to keep his distance just to be safe. I told him he doesn't have to worry about that, and that he's more than welcome to join us if he wants to. I also told him that my sister and the rest of my family actually considers him a part of our family, just to reassure him more. Jay tried to lighten the mood by joking and saying now that I know everything about him and still didn't break up with him, I could finally expect a proposal anytime soon. We both had a good laugh, but we agreed to wait for his recovery first before getting engaged or discussing our future family. During our discussion, Jay also had another heartbreaking revelation. He said that during the height of the pandemic, Beth's husband, Brian, reached out to him. Brian said that Beth had COVID and was confined in a hospital, and that he was already running low on funds due to bills and unemployment. He also said that Beth had been almost catatonic since Rosie's passing. She had been resistant to any outside and professional help, but she was institutionalized for about a year after a self-harming incident. For the past decade, she'd been cold, distant, and withdrawn from society. Apparently, the rest of Jay's family also knew about all this, but again, they just sweep it under the rug. To be fair, they had been helping Brian by sending financial aid to support Beth, but their version of the story was that Beth had just gone low contact since they moved. Also, to be very clear, Jay said that Beth never blamed him for what happened to Rosie, although he initially felt that way when he was younger. It was more of their parents interpreting and spinning things a certain way to avoid tarnishing their family's reputation, but when Brian reached out to him directly years ago, he started to understand better. However, he still hasn't processed everything, and he still partly blames himself for the whole thing. For now, what we're exploring is couples therapy so we can discuss our mutual issues in a safe and pressure-free space, and hopefully, kind of ease him into the world of therapy. We've already found the perfect therapist to help us, and we've now had 6 sessions with her. From what I can tell, Jay seems a lot happier and less burdened. We've also had homeworks from our sessions, and Jay was even the one reminding me to do them. Right now, I'm just hoping that he becomes ready enough to open up about Rosie so he can heal and recover from his trauma. Not for me, but for his mental and emotional well-being. No rush though, all in his own time. So, there, if you've made it this far into our story, thank you for your time. I have a good feeling that Jay and I are going to be fine. We still have a lot of challenges ahead of us, but here's to hoping for the best. Edit, so Jay and I now kinda share this account. He might reply directly from time to time. This is his first time on Reddit, so please be kind to him. I had to explain to him what OP and a lot of the other lingo mean, haha. Yeah, but we're both reading everything. Again, thank you for being so kind. Relevant comments. I hope Jay continues healing, and eventually Beth somehow gets out of the mental hole she's in. Both them went through something horrible that no one who hasn't been in that situation can comprehend. Thoughts for both of them. OP. Thank you for your kind words. As for Jay, I can see that he's already making some progress, even though it's more like baby steps. Nonetheless, it is still progressing. As for Beth, I can't even begin to imagine what she's going through. I just pray that she finally finds some peace eventually. Comment. I'm so happy with this update, that now Jay knows that you're on his side and is getting professional help. What happened to Rose was a tragedy and wasn't his fault at all. My heart hurts to think of the weight he must be carrying for all this time. Wishing you two all the best. OP. Yeah, he's starting to open up more about his internal struggles and burdens, but he hasn't touched on the subject of Rosie yet. The least I can do for him is to let him know I'm here for him. Thank you for your kind words. Deleted comment. I won't make excuses for them. On a human, personal level, they are extremely lovely, generous, and kind people. They have welcomed me as a part of their family, and they even extended help when my sister's daughter, Anna, had congenital health problems. I have met different relatives of my exes before, and in comparison, Jay's family has been the most wonderful and welcoming. OP. However, I would say that they are a product of the very traditional, non-progressive area in which we live. We are a Catholic community, and most activities revolve around our parish. Reputation is everything, yet town gossip is still very rampant. I understand that this may sound backward thinking in our modern times, but that is the reality of our lives. I also grew up in the same area, so I fully understand their behavior. Although I agree with you that everything that happened and how they reacted to it had been unfortunate to say the least, and Jay and Beth got the brunt of it. Comment. I'm so sorry for asking, but I'm really baffled here. Jay was a victim as well. He was in an accident. So what kind of reputation was to be saved? And why did they let Jay feel like it was his fault? What town gossip can possibly be there from this awful accident? I can't wrap my head around this. I truly hope Jay can find his much-deserved peace, especially Beth and Brian. And you are an angel. OP. I'm honestly just as confused as well. I don't think the intention was to make Jay feel he was at fault. I think the intention was to just not talk about it at all and make it seem like it never happened. Like a family secret never to be brought up so the bomb doesn't go off or something. Being rational definitely wasn't a priority, and unfortunately, it was Jay and Beth who suffered. You're being an amazing partner to him. I'm happy he has you. OP. Yeah, she's pretty wonderful. Lucky to have her in my life. Jay. Comment. Please tell me that the woman who was driving is still in jail. That's the update I want so badly. Justice. Everyone out here suffering, want to make sure she didn't just get community service slaps on wrist. OP. She did 1 year jail time, 5 years probation, not sure how much was really served. Comment. Is his sister physically okay now, after COVID? I really hope they both are able to get the help they need. They deserve the peace, and I'm pretty sure that the little girl wouldn't have wanted her uncle and her mommy to live in so much pain and suffering. I truly wish both of them the best. And to Jay personally, laugh for her. Play with Anna, teach her stuff, have fun, enjoy life, and don't be so hard on yourself. If this would have happened to some strangers and you'd read it in the newspaper, would you blame the boy who tried everything he could to save this little girl? From what I can read in this post, but especially between the lines, you'll be a great dad one day. Will you be able to always protect them, to never let them get hurt, to always be there? No. But you will do your best. You'll do everything you can. You'll love these beautiful human beings with every fiber of your being. This is everything you have to do. Love them. You can't have control over them or the things that can happen, and this is not your fault. You're only human. And you deserve to have the life you always dreamed of, to feel free and to be yourself. Your true self. And as someone who suffers under complex PTSD, you think once you open this box, everything will rush all over you. It will consume you, you'll lose the little control you have, you'll get sucked in and everyone and everything around you too, your world will go down and you're not strong enough yet to keep it together. That won't happen. It's hard work and it hurts like hell. Yes. But your brain will give everything to protect you. Piece by piece. There'll be days where you feel like you'll never see the light, but there will also be days you'll feel so free and loose, at peace with yourself, that things lift and you're able to breathe again. And you're not alone. And you won't pull your woman down with you. Don't forget that she wants to be there, that she loves you and she wants to carry this bag with you. And it's much easier to carry weight when you do it together. As a team. You're stronger than you think. Take a look in the mirror. Look into your eyes and take a moment to truly realize that you're still here. You're alive. You found a woman who truly loves you, a family you can build on, a future ahead of you. You're still here. O.P. Beth has recovered from COVID, so she's physically fine now. However, she's still mentally detached and has gone back to her almost catatonic state. Jay suggested couples therapy to Beth's husband after experiencing it firsthand, but we don't have an update on it yet. Also, thank you so much for your insights. You said a lot of sensible things that we never knew. Both Jay and I were clueless about therapy and psychology in general, so we actually learned new things from what you said. Jay says he appreciates you and is extremely grateful, and so am I. Comment. Happy for you both and sending energy your way for the growth and healing you need. I would think individual counseling would be a good option for you guys as well, just because with trauma like this it can be very helpful. My heart goes out to Jay and I am so happy you two found each other. O.P. Yeah, that's the plan. Once Jay becomes more comfortable with therapy and feels ready enough to do it on his own, he'll have individual counseling so he can focus on his healing. I'll be right here supporting him in every step. Thank you. Comment. I have a rule that I won't hold a baby unless it has been at least 48 hours since I dropped anything. It's pretty rare that I succeed. Jay. Maybe that should be my rule too. Comment. Jay, I think it'll help you to start playing in the house with Anna with O.P. right there. Try it for a few minutes. If you feel overwhelmed, you can also step away. O.P. can take over. It'll help you to desensitize. Try it again later on and see if you can increase the duration, even if it's just for an extra minute. Comment. When my niece was a toddler, she loved playing with me. She'd be on the floor and I'd be sitting with her or on the couch. She'd spend hours with her play phone, telling me that the monsters were over here, and then she'd hand me the receiver of her play phone, telling me to call the police. So then I'd pretend to call the police. This would go on for hours. Literally hours. LOL. But it's a wonderful memory. As for holding babies, you can try that step when you're feeling more confident. When I'm holding a baby, especially for the first time, I'm sitting on the couch. It makes me feel more secure. And with this, again, you can try it for a few minutes. If it feels like too much, you can hand the baby back to the parents. It's all about taking baby steps. You'll get there. O.P. Hi, thank you for your suggestion. We've also discussed this already. However, Jay still doesn't feel like he's ready for such a step, however minor it may be. When I brought up the idea of him maybe joining us whenever I played with Anna, he had such a huge smile on his face, but then he started sweating and hyperventilating. For now, we'll settle for a more hands-off but still thoughtful approach by preparing a gift for Anna's 3rd birthday. She's in her mermaid phase, so Jay's designing a mermaid tail that we'll both create as best we could. Haha. O.P. We still have a long way to go, but I'm hoping we'll eventually get there. Update 2. Last Christmas, I made a huge discovery about Jay's life. Long story short, his 3-year-old niece died in his arms when he was just 17 years old. They were extremely close, and they were playing in their yard when a car hit them. He tried to save her, but he eventually couldn't. He blamed himself for it, and his family covered everything up. Jay never received any support or professional help. Also, his sister, his niece's mom, had become catatonic following the incident, and she moved to another country with her husband. Everything resulted in Jay being uncomfortable about the topic of kids, even though he actually wanted to have his own, due to his unresolved issues. Fast forward to January. I found out that I had an early miscarriage that led to a false positive pregnancy test. I was lucky that I had my sister with me throughout the day when all this happened, but then when I came home, of course I had to tell Jay. He then spiraled and had a full-on panic attack, but this eventually led to us confronting his trauma and us getting therapy. We've been in couples therapy since late February. Everything was going smoothly, and our goal was to slowly ease Jay into therapy. Then when he feels ready, he'd have individual sessions to address his issues surrounding his niece's passing. That started last June. We've been having a couples therapy session once a month, then he'd have individual sessions 3 or 4 times a month. There were times he even had to go 2 times a week. I won't go into too much detail anymore, but it has been extremely difficult for us. I can only imagine how painful and difficult it is for him. I'd like to preface this by saying that ever since I met Jay, he had been extremely kind, sweet, gentle, and caring. I've never heard him curse, and he's always the peacemaker when we chance upon conflicts or commotions, in restaurants, stores, etc. He's usually reserved and brooding, but he also jokes around a lot. We have a running joke of out-punning each other in the grocery store for various products and brands we see. He's also never raised his voice. If he's mad or annoyed at me, he just gets quiet and sleeps it off, then we discuss it in a civil manner the next day. I've never seen him actually get angry at me or anything for that matter. However, when he started with his individual therapy sessions, I noticed that he started getting more irritable, neurotic, and easily triggered by a lot of small things that never bothered him before. He's also been cooking less and less. He says that cooking has always been his happy place before, and we've been ordering in a lot more. I can feel him almost always being restless, like there are always a million things going through his mind and he wants to say something, but somehow couldn't. There were also times when he wakes up at night and just sits by our window staring at nothing, like he's in deep thought or something. I tried to talk to him once during those times, but it was as if he couldn't hear me. Also, he's been less endearing toward me. Like, he's not cold or harsh or anything. It's just he doesn't seem to be as sweet as before. In our past 5 anniversaries, he had these elaborate plans that always led to an extremely sweet and memorable experience, a romantic dinner at a celebrity restaurant, a video greeting from all my friends and family, a concert of our favorite band, a musical show that I love, and a meet and greet with my favorite author. This year though, he totally forgot our anniversary. He then tried to make up for it by buying me a nice dress, which isn't even the correct size. Last week, Jay and I were invited to a housewarming party of one of my best friends. The 2 of us were originally supposed to attend, but he suddenly didn't feel well, so he just dropped me off and went home. There, my best friends had some sort of intervention for me. They said that they're all worried about me because they've been noticing how Jay has been treating me lately. They said that he's been somewhat neglectful of me, and that he doesn't treat me like I deserve. They noticed that he's been leaving me alone a lot, flaking out on a lot of gatherings, and has been generally distant toward me and everyone else. They were even concerned if Jay had been abusive toward me, which I categorically denied since he had never ever harmed me. Lastly, my friends said that Jay had not been providing me with the emotional support I need. The past months, I had been venting out to them about various things, including my job, some family problems, and my miscarriage. They said Jay should have been the first person I share these things with, but I just told them that I couldn't. Of course, I couldn't tell them about Jay's trauma and everything else going on in his personal life. They even theorized that maybe Jay is cheating on me, which I can confidently refute. They then advised me to break up with him if he doesn't shape up and treat me right because they said that I deserve better. Right now, I just don't know what to do. I love and respect Jay a lot, and I know that his personality change is caused by his trauma and therapy. Our therapist warned us that this might happen because of the severity of his trauma, so I was somewhat prepared and I still know that he's still the Jay I love and care for. However, I had no idea that to outsiders, our relationship already looked and felt toxic. I made a commitment to Jay that I'll be with him throughout his recovery process, and I fully believe he'll get through this, however long it takes. Despite everything, I still love him. I just don't know how to reach and connect with him now. Maybe I should also go into individual therapy myself? I don't know, it's now kinda out of our budget and his trauma seems higher priority than what I'm going through right now. Maybe I should just wait it out. Or maybe I should listen to my friends and consider taking a break from our relationship. I really don't want to do that because Jay needs my support, but is it the right move for me? Edit. Additional context that Jay and I were not planning on having a baby when I had the miscarriage. The pregnancy was unexpected, I didn't even know I was pregnant, and the miscarriage was even more so. Nonetheless, it all still affected me mentally and emotionally, even up to this day.